At first glance, it would appear that Jesus waited before he responded to their request, and by doing so, allowed Lazarus to die. However, when we look at the timeline of events, we see that Lazarus was dead for 4 days. On the first day, the messengers traveled from Bethany east across the Jordan to find Jesus. This took about 1 day. Then the next 2 days, Jesus lingers because after they came to him, he waited 2 more days. On the fourth day, Jesus traveled to Bethany, the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. It took a day's journey for him to get where she was. So this whole series of events took about 4 days. So in other words, Lazarus was dead for 4 days, which means that by the time they sent the messenger, Lazarus was already dead. You might be waiting to call on Jesus, but he already knows what you are going through. Jesus could have come sooner, but Lazarus still would have been dead. Jesus waited until he was good and dead so that no one could get the credit. Jesus waited until he was good and dead so that no one could say that there was no other means and no other way but God for this miracle to take place. If he had come sooner, they would have tried to come up with some other explanation for the miracle, but Jesus waited until he was good and stinking before he came and brought about deliverance. Does anybody have any stinky situations in your life? Stink causes a reaction. Stink causes heads to turn. When something or someone really stinks, everybody knows it. A stinky situation is when your credit score has plummeted. A stinky situation is when you go from driving a nice car to rolling in a bucket. A stinky situation is when you can't find a job or you're living two paychecks behind, going from this loan to that loan, from paydays to pawn shopping, and so on and so forth. A stinky situation is baby's daddy drama or baby's mama drama. A stinky situation is when you have fallen and you feel like you can't get up. Anybody ever been in a stinky situation? Sometimes God will wait until it's good and stinky. And when God waits, we have to wait. Again, when God waits, we have to wait. When we've done all we can do and we know there's nothing we can do, and when God is waiting, we have to wait. There is nothing we could do. If we could get ourselves out, we would have already done it. But when God waits, we have to wait. Like the song says, you can't hurry God. You just have to wait. But I can assure you right now, you may be waiting, but he's going to come through. You may be still waiting, but God's going to turn it around. Nothing's happened yet, but God is in the process of doing something on your behalf. God is in the process of turning some things. He's already worked it out, even though it's not yet manifested. So Jesus shows up. And in verse 23, it says, thy brother shall rise again. Do you believe that your situation can rise again? You here on today, do you believe that your situation can rise again? Do you believe that things can get better? Do you believe that things can get better? Amen. Jesus said that he is the resurrection and the life. They didn't have just anybody in their presence, but rather they had the one with the power to bring back alive and the one with the power to sustain life. Jesus told those around to take away the stone that was in front of the cave where Lazarus' grave was. The stone stood in between that which was dead and Jesus. And sometimes we have things in our life that are standing in the way between us and Jesus. And sometimes we have to move some things from out of our life before we get our deliverance. Again, the stone was here. Here Jesus is. Come here, Malcolm. You can go over there. So imagine that this is the big stone on the tomb, and Lazarus is on the other side. And so Jesus can't see Lazarus because the stone is over the tomb. So the stone is in between Jesus and Lazarus. So the stone had to be removed first before Jesus spoke the word for Lazarus to come forth. And that's how it is many times within our lives. We have that are standing in between us and Jesus. So you're expecting a miracle, you're waiting on a miracle, but sometimes you have to examine yourself and see if there is something that is standing in the way between you and Jesus, something that is standing in the way between you and your breakthrough. And when Lazarus was resurrected, hope was resurrected. Hope was not just resurrected for Mary and Martha, but hope was resurrected for all those around. When people see how stinky your situation is and know how bad it is, and the same people that laugh at you, when they see that thing turn around, they'll know that God is true and that he is living, that God did that thing, and what God did for you, he can do for them.